Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Macon Campbell and this is maconSTUFF. So, part 12, let's do it. As I mentioned in the last video, I'd really like to get to assembly of this lower action in this episode. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to give it my best. To do that, I'm going to have to get around to gluing in all the felt and leather where it's necessary. That being on the reed pan, on the mutes, the swells, the pallets, and whatever else I forgot to mention. So let's get started. Okay, so off camera I went ahead and I cut new leather for the mutes because, as you might remember, my dog ate the others. So obviously the mutes are what I'm going to be doing next, so let's do it. Okay, so the next thing to do is gluing the pallet faces. First the felt and then the leather. I already have the felt, which I cut in a previous video. You may recall that the leather that I cut for the pallets was eaten up by my dog. So I had to go out and find new leather, and this is what I found. So while looking for this thin leather, this pink one caught my eye, so naturally I just had to have it. These two are pretty much the same except for the color. It is nice and thin. I think actually this might work better than the leather that I had initially. They are both pretty much exactly the same in texture and in thickness. Being the macho man that I am, I think I'm just going to have to go with the pink. So next I've got to cut another piece of leather that's the same size as this felt. And as I explained in one of the previous videos, the way I'll be gluing this to the pallets is by gluing them onto the felt first and then cutting them out afterwards. Same thing with the leather. So let's go. Okay, so this should be enough leather for all the pallets. I'm going to have to glue them up in two separate stages as I don't have a piece that's long enough. The felt I can do all in one go. Let's do it. Okay, I think I mentioned this before, but I'm just going to mention it again. You don't want to fully glue the material to the pallet. You still want there to be a little bit of movement in the material. All you need is a tiny bead of glue on the top, middle and the bottom. Stick it down and it should be fine. So on your marks, get set, go. Okay, so the next step I'm going to take is refitting all the mutes. You may recall from a previous video that only the sub-base mute had hinges on. These are the two brass hinges that were on there, and as you can see, they weren't even matching. The rest of them were all set in place with cloth patches that were glued on, and then they were covered over with another piece of material. I'm not sure what that was, but similar to bookbinding tape. I was kind of on the fence on what I was going to use because I couldn't find hinges that matched these ones in thickness and in size. This is pretty much the only thing I could find in brass. I managed to find these ones as well, which are a little bit closer to these in thickness. I've got enough of these and enough of these to fit all the mutes, but I think for aesthetics sake I'm probably going to go with the brass one. They look a little nicer. They are, however, not proper brass like these ones. These are obviously just brass plated. Another thing I had problems with was the screws. These are the screws that were initially in there. These are 2mm screws. I couldn't find anything in that thickness and in that length. These are the only screws I could find. This is probably roughly 2.5mm. Yeah, roughly 2.5mm. So they're a little bit thicker, but that's not my main problem. My main problem was the length, because obviously they have to go through this wood and you don't want them protruding through the reed cell. So what I ended up having to do is manually grind them down to be roughly the same length as those. Now, the reason I decided to go with actual hinges is because I noticed in this wood there were a whole bunch of holes where most probably hinges used to be. So obviously someone in a previous repair removed the hinges and replaced them with the material ones that were on here. So I filled up all the holes that weren't needed, except for obviously the ones where the spring goes in, just so it can look a little bit better and so that I can drill new holes and place the new hinges where I want to. So I hope that kind of explains what I'm going to be doing. So first things first, I'm going to have to grind down the rest of the screws to the proper length, all 40 of them, and then we can get started refitting all the mutes. So let's do it. Okay, so I came down here this morning planning to reinstall all the pallets with their springs and be done for the week, only to realize that all of the guide pins that need to be inserted for the pallets needed a cleaning. As there are 122 of them, it took me almost 2 hours to do. I decided to save you having to watch me do it, so I did it off camera. So most of the morning is gone now, but finally I can get to reinserting these pins. I cut a dowel to the depth at which the pins need to go in. I saw this courtesy of Rodney Yancey's website. So all I'm going to basically do is insert the pin, put it in the hole, and then hammer it in to the proper depth, and do that 122 times. Let's get it done. Well, there we go, guys. That feels like it was a pretty productive week. I got quite deep into the reassembly of the lower action. I applied all the materials, the leather, the felt that was needed. I reinstalled all the mutes. I reinstalled all the pallets. Now pretty much all that's left is installing the pitmans. I still, however, have to reassemble all of the couplers before I can put them back in, but I'm going to leave all that for next week. I'm pretty happy with how it's moving along. Everything looks way better than it used to, at least. Whether it's going to play better still remains to be seen. But all in all, I'm feeling positive. So as I said, I'm going to call it a week, and I guess I'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, share, and as always, till next time, keep making stuff.